Hi all, this is Skate, and we are looking at the AMX 1375, the French Tier 7 light tank. In this video I have three mastery replays to show you. The first one is pre-nerf, however I think I've only got around 80% crew at the point of that game, and regardless of that change in terms of 1.3 to 2 seconds in between the shells, the gameplay still plays the same. You still have to play this tank the same. And then we have one in top tier, and then the next one after that we are bottom tier. But first, equipment. This is what I have on mine at the moment. I have improved ventilation. Now, calibrated shells is also a very, very good shout. This first one I genuinely think is down to personal preference. For me, I'll go for improved vents. I'll also go for improved modules, because you will find other light tanks trying to ram you. I think minus 20% from ramming damage can make a significant difference there. In terms of specialization on the first tier, it's got to be improved optics. You shouldn't run a camo net on this thing. And then gun lane drives. This is the equipment I have on mine. After that, if I was going to continue, I'd go improved assembly, engine accelerator for a bit more mobility and track traverse, and then I'd go with V-stabs. And honestly, I wouldn't bother with the last two slots on this. I just don't think it needs them. After that then, my ammo loadout, and obviously this matters with these, I run 3 HE, 6 APCR and 27 AP. Now if you're not confident in using the HE, just swap it out for something like the APCR or a couple of extra AP shells. But taking the HE means you need to make that clip count, especially in those games where it really does matter. In terms of provisions then, I run the hot coffee, standard fuel and improved fuel. And then onto consumables, multi-purpose restoration pack, repair kit, and the engine boost. Now obviously we can't run adrenaline on autoloaders, but even if you could, I would still choose the engine boost on this, because although it has really good mobility, it has amazing mobility with that engine boost on, which makes a difference in terms of doing a circle of death on something fairly mobile, or getting up early like this, getting up to a bush and spotting really quick. Or accidentally going through the bush and deciding to go to the next one. That wasn't intentional. I went a bit too fast into the bush and went, right, screw it, I'm going to the next bush. Now we spotted an SU, but the SU didn't spot us. I could go running and gunning, however we don't know what else is about. So instead I was hanging around waiting and the SU came back. Now after I've got my clip off, I've reversed around the rock to make it look like I'm heading that direction. He's dropped off the map, so I'm hoping I've dropped off the map. And now I'm going to go back away, which I'm hoping he doesn't expect me to. But he's not there. The idea of doing that is either he points his gun in the one direction and you appear somewhere else, or he's gone chasing the other direction where he thinks I have gone. And although I can't say for sure, it looks like that is exactly what has happened. And now we have butt shots on him and we need to get that track. Now if we didn't get that track shot, he would have turned around and put a nice one into our face. Especially if I wanted a chance finishing my clip there. I could have gone into hiding, obviously. But for the sake of one more shot, it was worth doing it to take out an SU-152. So that's why autoloaders, every single one, always try and go for track shots. Unless you know you're going to finish them off and you're not going to take much damage. Or you've managed to surprise them by coming out to some crazy position they're not expecting. Then, well, you know they're not going to run away from you while you're trying to use your clip or return fire. But then the other thing to consider is trading damage. For example, if there's another medium or light tank right in front of me, I will happily take a shot off him to finish my clip off on the guy. However, if there's something like a KV2 pointing at me, nope, not interested. I'd rather run away and not even try and get any of my shots off. You'd think that's fairly obvious, but I've seen it. I've seen somebody trying to get the last two shells off while the KV2 was pointing at them. Now this KV2 is not even looking at me. However, he turns his gun to me and check out how close he is to shooting me. And he didn't even aim, he turned his gun and shot. Russian accuracy, gotta love it. I mean, how? I don't understand how he could have been so close to hitting me without even aiming. He turned his gun, shot, and it skimmed me. I'm pretty sure if we didn't move back when we did, that would have, well, made a very big mess of our little French tank. Now this is the other thing I love doing in this sort of tank, and I think it's bare essential. Try not to stick in the same spots while you're on a reload. You've got like a 10-11 second reload on your clip. Why sit in the same spot waiting to reload when you know guns are looking at you? You've got amazing mobility, you can appear in positions like this, where that Helsing was not expecting us, and it allowed us to unload our entire clip into him. Purely because we've just relocated while we're waiting for our clip to load. It makes all the difference. And I'll use that play every single time I possibly can. Because each time you reappear, somebody has to turn their gun to try and look at you. And as we know, when you're trying to unload a full clip, every second counts. Now in terms of this game, we are winning at the moment, no. We were 3-2, we are 2-2 now. And I'm not going to stop, even though I'm loaded, because I want to keep going and I want to find that SU, because I saw he has less than my average clip damage. Average clip damage on this is 480. So if I can flank around this guy's butt and get my entire clip off into the back of him, we are then in a 2-on-1 situation. So that is the aim of my game here, to try and balance it up, and we have done so. But as soon as we do that, the Tiger takes out my friendly light. So we are now in a 1-on-1 situation. And this is when I really wish I had my adrenaline, because the Tiger has just enough mobility, even though it is a Kuro, to keep up as long as he turned his tracks and his gun in the right direction together. But he doesn't, so it kind of gives us that advantage that we need. And to be honest, we're now in a situation where we're out of AP. I know I can take a couple of shots off him, and I'm not going to die before he's going to die, as long as I hide during my reload, which is the most important thing, is making sure you always have cover when you're on a reload. So I'm going to hit the adrenaline, try and drive past him quickly, and put another APCR shell into him. Not because I'm a filthy gold spammer, but because I run out of AP. If I had AP left, I would have been able to finish him off with the last clip. But I didn't, so I had to use APCR. But that gave us 3,433 damage and 4 kills. So this game was pre-buff, but the gameplay is exactly the same. It just takes you that little bit longer to get your clip off. I was a little nervous as to how much impact that change in the autoloader would make by adding 2 seconds instead of 1.3 seconds between each shell. Honestly though, I don't think it makes a great deal of difference. I mean, I've had people say the tank is completely ruined, it's unplayable. No, it's not. It's really not. How can you say it's unplayable over 0.7 extra seconds between the clip? Or rather, an extra 0.7 between each shell. But still, I don't think it makes a great deal of difference. I really don't. The only thing it does is mean you have to be exposed for a little bit longer than you usually would. Which means stuff like that, what just happened, happens. Before the updates, that wouldn't have really happened, but, well, I could have just got 2 shots off and gone back into cover. That's what I should have done, ideally. But I didn't, and I paid the price by having a little bit of my health taken off. And there's another bit of my health taken off. So yeah, this thing has received a nerf, but it's still performing very, very well. My win rate hasn't dropped in it. I haven't seen any difference in my average damage pre and post nerf. So I think as long as you make sure that you have cover between your reloads, you're not going to have any big issue with this tank post nerf. And just like the AMX 12T, I love this tank. I think it's brilliant fun. The only areas I think this tank really suffers badly is obviously the ammo capacity. I got another Fade-ins medal in this tank, which, well, I wasn't recording it at the time, but I don't have many Fade-ins medals, not many of us do. But I think it was like my 2nd or 3rd Fade-ins medal I got with this tank. And that was from firing HE into a T150 into his butt with my last one, and I just managed to set him on fire and win the game. If I didn't set him on fire, I wouldn't have got that win. Hands down, I wouldn't have got the win. I just got lucky in terms of setting them on fire, and I think I did about 150 damage. If I wasn't carrying the 3 HE and I was carrying the AP, would have been fine. But still, I got myself a Faden's medal there, so I was very happy with that. Aside from that, you really need to watch out for the elevation. 6 degrees of elevation. That's bad. That's like really, really bad. And that's what will catch you out so often if you don't prepare for it. Which is why I will try my hardest to make sure I'm not looking up at anything, or I'm not looking down on anything. It's got 6 degrees of gun depression, which isn't shockingly bad, but it's not great. And there's an ammo rack. But the elevation, 6 degrees, you can't put yourself in a situation where there is a tank above you. Use the mobility to run around. Just don't let anything shoot down at you. Especially tanks with gun depression. Because they can shoot you, but you can't shoot them. Other than that, if you're looking at this thing statistically and comparing it to the SP1C, the T71, the Walker Bulldog, the Type 62 and the LTTB, on paper this tank just looks worse than the rest. In every way. I mean, don't get me wrong, this thing's better in certain aspects, but... well, if you look at it on Tank Compare, most things are green next to this, and very little is red. Yet in reality, it performs so much better than what you'd think looking at it on paper. I mean, this is a tier 8 game. We did 3,217 damage. We got ourselves a mastery badge and 200 capture points. And I've just realised I told you a lie at the start, which I didn't do intentionally. I'm bottom tier on both these games. I thought I was one top tier and the other one was bottom tier, but turns out we're bottom tier on both. So my apologies for telling lies at the start. In all fairness though, it doesn't make a difference with this tank if you are bottom tier or you are top tier. I play it in exactly the same way. I use my mobility to spot as early as I can, and then I will run around like a headless chicken trying to unload clips here and there. But yeah, back to what I was saying about on paper, this tank just looks so much worse than all the other light tanks. The only place it really starts to shine, well, not unless you compare it to Type 62 and an LTTB, but where it starts to shine is that 40mm of hull armor. It's angled so well, and unless anything overmatches you, there is a chance things are going to bounce. I mean, it is a chance, but you'd be surprised. And although on paper it looks to be the worst, it's performing exceptionally well. And it's got the most frontal armor of any of the auto-loaders. I mean, SP1C, 10mm, you could fart in that thing's general direction and penetrate its armor. You got a T71 with 25mm of armor or 22 on the turret. So with your AMX 1375, you can penetrate that thing with your HE. Yet he can't penetrate you with his. And that's the same with a Walker Bulldog. So looking at this thing, it doesn't necessarily look like it's a very strong tank. On the surface of it anyway. But when you start to look into things like that, that's where it starts to make the difference. And this tank is very good and it performs very well. Well, I say it performs well. It performs well if you don't stick it in front of something with a big nasty gun and don't bother running away or hiding in between your reloads. If you're hiding between your reloads, then you're not really going to have a great big deal of an issue because, well, look, I'm hiding while I'm reloading. You'll notice I'm popping up the other side because I would have dropped off the map by now. So they're looking at the other side for me, and it means I can unload my shells right into the front of that guy, and in theory he has no idea where I am because I'm unspotted. I was last seen on that left-hand side, and you'll notice I'm doing exactly the same thing again. Pop back down. During my reload, I am resetting the camo, and I can unload my clip to my leisure again. And for me, this tank is going to be a keeper. I'm going to load it with equipment, and I'm going to keep it in my garage, which I don't do for a huge amount of tanks, because, well, I've got a Type 62. I could just play a Type 62, that's a tier 7 light tank, and it's premium. But I love the playstyle on this one. So for me, she's a keeper, and she's staying in the garage. One final note I think is very important for this tank. Do you know what the scariest class of tank is I find for this thing? It's not heavy tanks or tanks with massive caliber guns. They're my favourites. It's light tanks. Light tanks are what I fear the most when I'm in the AMX 1375, quite simply because they can chase me and they can keep up with me while I'm on my reload. So if you have a light tank chasing you, even if you're not going to do damage, go for his tracks. Take his tracks out with your clip, then run away. That way you know you've got that extra bit of time to get ahead of him. And the best thing to do is either try and run in the direction of your team or try and hide somewhere or get into cover, so at least you're going around in circles until you're reloaded. But that game, we were bottom tier, but we did 3,146 damage. We did do a mission which gave us a ludicrous amount of credits, and we are top of the board there. So yeah, AMX 1375, guys. I really like this thing. I hope you've enjoyed the video as well. Thank you all for watching, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye bye.